Ubisoft, baby. Has Ubisoft lost their way? Honestly, I would say yes. You might wonder why I would pose such a question, or maybe you don't, if you feel like me. They used to be my favorite developer slash publisher, making some of my favorite games of all time. Or rather, favorite franchises, because there are singular games that stand out more than a lot of Ubisoft games, but franchises that all had such above and beyond entries that now are just scraping the barrel. They're okay, they're passable. And I hate where it's gone. Ubisoft went from having, say, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Revelations, Splinter Cell Blacklist, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, all these things, Tom Clancy's Hawks 1 and 2, amazing games, right? Boy! Beyond Good and Evil, even though for me Beyond Good and Evil wasn't really something I enjoyed that much, I could understand the appeal and what was good about that game, right? Ubisoft had so many great things going for it, and even though, like, let's say with Assassin's Creed, it's the property from Ubisoft that I like the most, even with Assassin's Creed 3 was a little bit of a letdown, and then they brought it back for Assassin's Creed 4. But then after Assassin's Creed 4, the storyline just kind of halted. Even if there was a good game in there, in the next ones, the storyline just kind of halted, and they just started milking and milking and milking. And it annoys me, because the same thing is happening, not necessarily on a story basis, but in terms of milking a game. They're just doing it so much, and it pisses me off, man, because think about it. Far Cry 1, who cares? Far Cry 2, it was okay, but not that great.
Smoking these meats here.
Far Cry 3, amazing game. Far Cry 4, also pretty good, but let's be honest, kind of piggybacking off of everything that Far Cry 3 did right, and then just adding some extra little sprinkles and a new location. 3, 2, 1, go! Far Cry 5. It seemed like it could have been great. I have fun playing it with people, but the problem is, it's a game that you just feel like an extra year or two, and it could have gone from just good, okay, not that polished, but it's alright. It's a bit of fun. It could have gone from that to literally an amazing game. I feel like Ubisoft used to put polish into their games, and even when there wasn't, even when it was lacking a little bit of polish, there would be enough in the right areas to where it would make up for it. Far Cry 5 just feels like an excuse for a game, for example. It's like, yeah, the gunplay is kind of fun and stuff, but all the missions are so generic and just horde mode this, horde mode that, horde mode. It's like, what the hell is happening here? Ubisoft has just started relying on their formula without actually building a good game around it. For example, their formula isn't bad. Like, taking out outposts, all that sort of stuff, all their open world things, like signal towers, blah, blah, blah. That isn't bad stuff. It's just you have to put it in a good open world. A great example is Assassin's Creed Black Flag yet again, right? Because it has all those staples of Ubisoft open world, but it puts it in an open world that feels really great and feels diverse and looks amazing, and it feels like it's alive. And then they even added new things like, the shark hunting, whale hunting, all that stuff. Oh, it's just so amazing. It's one of the only games where I actually care about getting the collectibles. Again, because getting around is also very fun. You could say the same thing about Marvel's Spider-Man. I actually care about the collectibles in that game because going around is just such a joy, man. And I feel like Ubisoft has lost that and many other things that made their games great. I think Assassin's Creed Unity is the perfect example for where Ubisoft has gone these days, because you can tell they clearly put a lot of money into the games, but they all are just lacking polish. And that brings me to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now listen, Odyssey was all right. It wasn't horrible, but it was pretty bad as an Assassin's Creed game, let's be honest. But Odyssey had its issues, I've talked about this before, and Valhalla is not improving on any of those issues from the gameplay we have seen, from the official gameplay trailer we saw. It is not improving on any of those issues. It has the exact same problems. I'm sure, work in progress, but this game comes out in November. Okay, how much can they change? And knowing Ubisoft, when they say work in progress, things either get worse or they stay the same. That's the Ubisoft way nowadays. So, like, I have very little hope that it's going to get better from here, right? The only thing in this Ubisoft Forward thing that came out that actually had me excited at all was Far Cry 6. And that's because the cinematic trailer was good. Like, does that even really mean anything? No, it actually doesn't. The game could come out in the same state as Far Cry 5. It's okay, it's possible, but it really is just another throwaway game that you buy on sale one day. Like, it's not what it used to be. And can we also just talk about how Splinter has been completely driven into the ground? We only get to see Sam Fisher in mobile games? Like what? What is this? Seriously, at that Ubisoft Forward event, half of what you saw was just mobile games. It was pathetic. Pathetic. I mean, the last truly amazing game that Ubisoft brought out, in my opinion, was Rainbow Six Siege. And that came out not even that recently, if you think about it. I mean, yeah, it was recent, but not that recent. And it's a multiplayer game at that. You know, when's the last time Ubisoft has brought out a really amazing single-player game? Odyssey is not really amazing. It's good. It has its great things, but it also has its horrible things as well, right? Far Cry 5 is not amazing. It has its good things and it has its horrible things as well. These are average games that are eye candy. That's all it is. At least for me, that's all it is. And it's just sad because I grew up with Ubisoft games, and I'm sure maybe some of you feel the same as well as I'm making this video. I grew up with these Ubisoft games that had so much care and love put into them, and even when they were buggy, you know, or glitchy, it was glitchy or buggy in the sort of way that was sort of endearing, you know, like old Bethesda games, I guess. But you could tell there was still an overall polish in terms of the story that had been written, in terms of the world you were seeing, and in terms of the controls, you know, things like that, in terms of the vision for the game itself, right? It's like, my main problem with like Odyssey and with Valhalla, for example, if we're going to go to Assassin's Creed, isn't that it's using a similar formula to Origins. That's fine. It's that they're hardly refining it. Go from Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed Revelations, and you have tons of extra features being added on to make it, yes, a similar experience, but fundamentally much, much better. And again, it's not that these new games are going to be bad, it's that they're just going to be average. When is Ubisoft actually going to take their time to make an amazing game again? Because it has been far, far, far too long from a publisher, developer that used to make, at the very least, great games. You know, and actually used to care about the product they were making. I just feel like they have thrown the gameplay out of the window, and especially the animations. I mean, Valhalla looks like it is missing animation frames. It has that same problem that the Marv that the new Avengers game has. Anyway, I know I've been talking for a while, but there was a lot to unpack for this. Honestly, there was a lot to unpack for this, because there's just Ubisoft, there's just so much to talk about with it, and I wish it were different. Like, listen, they're not as bad as they could be, but they really are on a path of destruction right now, and if they're not careful, they're never going to come back from it, or it's going to be a damn while before they come back from it. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments, especially with this sort of topic. It's very interesting to hear what people think. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video as well. It really does help out a lot. And Discord link in the description. What a link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Ubisoft, baby.